Art students, welcome back. Brian Proctor back with another drawing lesson for you guys. And today is part 2 in the how to draw hands holding a weapons. And this one is going to be the knife. The knife. Now, I was going to do the knife and the sword, but as I was doing the knife, it was a lot of drawings for knife positions or hand positions for knives. So I didn't want to take too long doing a long video for both of them. So we're just doing the knife today. So the next one is going to be on swords. So sharpen your pencils, get your paper, and let's get going with this drawing tutorial. All right, let's get started with this video. And these are going to be the hands that we're working with. These are kind of like your basic hand positions that you will use in a lot of drawings, holding a knife, basically. Now, I was going to do a knife and a sword, but there's so many different knife positions that I will probably run out of time, so I'm going to do a sword separately. So first thing we'll do before I show you how to do these is to show you a couple things about the hands you might or might not know about, because you can't draw the hand holding something if you don't really know how to draw the hand properly. Okay, now these are going to be some things that I showed in the first video, and I'm doing it again because you may have not seen the first video. You may have come into this video, just found it and decided to look at it and won't know what I'm doing because you didn't see the first part. So stop rambling. All right, so the hand. First thing you would do, look at the hand. The hand is basically a square. If you look at that, it's basically a square. All right, now you take that square and you cut that in half because you have your palm. You have your fat medium side of the palm, and you have this part of the palm here. So that, if you look at it, that's basically in half. When you squeeze this, that's about half, a little about half. So just go halfway like that. So you have your window, basically your house window. So you take this and you round this off. Notice that I'm coming off of this edge here because your wrist, when you draw your wrist comes like this, leaving space here. Your wrist does not come like this. So if this is your hand, your wrist will not come like that. And if you notice, you see how much room there is over here. Look at your wrist and you see it's the same thing. So off of this, and I draw a circle because when you close when you squeeze your palm, this becomes more rounded. So this is more of a ball. And then your thumb comes off of this, which is basically two pieces. This little square and this little banana shaped little piece. And that's your thumb. So you have 4 fingers here. You have 5 fingers, of course, you know that, unless you had an accident or something like that. This is really not flat. I had somebody complain about that at one time. It is, if you look at it, it goes up. It's kind of like, almost goes to like a, I don't want to say it's flat here, but let's just say it's flat there. So you go up, flat, and there. And you have your 2 fingers on each side. And maybe that's why one is shorter than the other, because it's going downhill. So it's not going to be as long. I guess I can't pull my hand back like that. If it was on the same plane, it might be almost as long. Same thing with this one. You know, this was the longest one, and you have this finger here. Now, this finger, your pointer finger, this stays in line with the side of your hand, not that one. This one, it stays in line with the side of your hand. No matter how much you do, it's going to still stay in line with the side of your hand. Whereas the baby finger can come out. This goes up and this will go out. And these little tips help you will help you when you start drawing the hand. So that's the front. The back is basically the same thing until you make a fist. So there's the back of your hand. This part right here is called your web of your hand. This little piece that connects your thumb, and it is the main part for holding something. So we have your web here, and you have your thumb here. How's that thumb going to go? Like that, your thumb here. Now, what I'm doing here is showing you that you have this, but when you make a fist, that square shape turns more into a triangle, shall we say. So it turns into more like that when you make that fist. When you open it up, it's pretty much square. I mean, it's fatter meat out here, and I'll get into that later. But it's pretty much square until you, as I say, make that fist. This is going to be wider than your wrist part, so it's better to do this when you're doing the hand. It makes it a lot easier Okay, sideways. If you take this square here, which is just a board like that, that's all that is. So if you turn that sideways, it's like that. Now the one thing is, you will see, depending on if your thumb side is here, what you're going to see sideways is this part of your palm comes down. So it's going to look like this, like that, and then here's your fingers. Here's your finger. Now, another thing about that, if you look at it from the side, you will see this finger, the knuckle, this knuckle comes up higher than that knuckle. So you will see this knuckle here, and then you'll see the other knuckle for the other finger. And then your thumb comes down from that piece like that. And that's another important part, that you remember that this knuckle is the highest knuckle on the hand, because if you turn it from the front, it actually kind of goes up like that, your hand, and that's kind of hard to see. You can't see unless I cut my fingers off. It's going to go up. The bottom could be flat. Can't see because it's monitor, but the top is going to have that highness. It's going to start low, going to come up high, and kind of go back down. You should be able to see that. So remember, that's your highest part of it. This is your highest knuckle here. This is your pointer finger. This is your, I don't even know what this finger is called. I guess your ring finger. And then your pinky finger is way down here, so it's going to have that curve. And then the palm will curve when you grab something. So these are important tips when you start drawing the hand, because in certain positions you're going to need to know that this knuckle's higher. This is cut in the middle here, and I said you have this palm, this part of the palm, and you have this other part that actually goes up to the baby finger. So it's going to be like that. This is in that shape, kind of like a mountain, and the back of it is going to turn into more of this triangle, half triangle. There's your triangle. You just cut that off, so your wrist is there. So yeah, okay, so these are the important things that you need to know for the time being. And one more real quick, one more. Here's your fist, drawing the fist, and then here's your thumb, like that. Now, another piece of paper, because I want to show you why I did it wrong. And I'm rushing this because this video is probably going to run into about an hour, and I'm trying to keep it under an hour. So I just did that. Here's your fist. First of all, a fist, I start out with a square. Now, the fist is not square. The fist is more, remember that angle like that comes down like that, and this one goes up too. Another thing is here, your four fingers. Your fingers do not come all the way up to your knuckles. When I was young, I used to draw fists like that. I thought the fingers would come all the way up. If you look at it, you see where that they stop. You see that they don't come all the way up to the knuckles. You also see that it does go up that hill like that, and this one curves in too. So it's going to be like this, and that makes for a better fist. Also, you have this finger, these joints here. This one is higher. This one does not line up, I guess, because this finger is so low down that when you bend your fingers, all these joints or these bends will kind of line up. It's hard to do this in the camera, except for this one, which goes down lower. So something else you need to know. So when you're making a fist, you have these bends right here. But this one is going to be higher, and you're going to see some of that second part of the finger. So when if I say knuckles, these are your knuckles. I was referring to these bends as knuckles in the other video, but you have three sections, and I'm learning as I do this video. Three bends, you have three sections. This first section, third section, and the second section and third section. Let's just call them bends. This is part of the first bend, second bend, and third bend. So when we're drawing, you'll understand what I'm saying. So this is the first bend here. This is the second, and if I bent it again, that's your third bend. So you'll know what I'm saying. So your thumb comes out, down, and across. And your thumb has two. Your thumb has this little piece here, and a joint that connects. So your thumb only has two bends, this one, and then this is part of the circle. So yeah, now that we have that out the way, let's go ahead and start drawing the hand. All right, so the first position is you're gonna hold, it's gonna be holding the knife straight up, just like on the paper. So first thing you wanna do is you always draw your weapon first, and then you wrap your hand around your weapon. So this is the knife handle, this is a small knife. So we're going to do this again with because this is the back of the hand. Remember, when that fist is around there, it's going to take more of a triangle shape. So it's going to be like this. And then your fingers, or something else I was going to say. When you bend your fingers, I'll do it this way. When you bend your fingers, I can't see that right now. When you bend your fingers, I'll just show you. When you bend your fingers just don't come straight in. Your fingers actually bend in this angle, coming in this angle in. It doesn't bend straight. They bend in. They bend in like toward the thumb. You see, like this baby finger, it doesn't bend straight in. It bends in toward that thumb. And this one actually comes in a little bit. I think this was a neutral one. But I'm saying that because, where did it go? This. When you bend your fingers are going to bend down like this. So when I'm doing a hand, if I'm doing a hand holding something, I'll have this. Let me use blue. This is always the shape you use. This is where the knuckles are. This is the back of the hand. And these are the fingers bending down like that. So you're always going to have this. If you're drawing, and here's your wrist. If you're drawing a hand somehow, and it's seen from the back, you're going to draw this triangle and this like that. It's kind of like half a box, I guess. So these are your fingers. 1, 2, 3. Remembering that this one comes in a little bit. These other ones go down. Okay, so that is wrapping around this little cylinder knife handle. Again, understanding that this finger, when the first bend on these fingers, and it's going to go back, just like that line goes, it's going to go back like that. This finger, remember this bend is not in line with that one, so it's going to be about right here, and then it's going to go in. So you're going to have to do more cylinder. You have to learn how to do your cylinders. So it's about right here, and then it bends in because it's bending around like that. Each finger is bending around to hold this knife. So the second bend is going to curve in, and the third bend is going to be back here somewhere behind that. Again, as I said, remember that the lines of the fingers or the break of the fingers don't come all the way up. But that's just something I do to separate my fingers like that. Then I stop them like this. So I'll have this finger that bend, and then I have this finger like that and like that. And these are my fingers. So if this was the first bend, this would be the second bend of the baby finger. And this is the third one right there. So it could be holding something. So if it's holding something small, like a little pipe or something, it would come out like that. So you have to have, whenever you draw, you have to know that your fingers are going to wrap around whatever. So let's say if this was a pipe or something, your fingers are going to have to wrap around it like that, having those bends. So if you had the other finger, it's going to wrap around it as well. And that's off. It should be like the other way, because I'm doing it that way. Forget that. All right, back to the regular hand. And you won't see the thumb because the thumb is going to be down here somewhere, so you won't see that thumb. So coming up like that, you have that. And then you have your knuckles here, of course, going down. And this knuckles like at the top of the hand, like that. So if I ink this, it would look something like this. And at the bottom of your hand, something else, the bottom of your hand, you have this extra flesh that comes out. So when you make a fist, you see how that comes out. It's not straight down because that finger comes in. You have all of this coming out, and you have this little mountain, that little piece that comes out. And that's for when you want to start getting seriously detailed about hands. So it would come out like that. So this finger would be here, like that, and then like this at first bend, and it comes around like that. Now, if this was a bigger object, or if this is a wider handle, you would do the same thing. except you would have more bends. You would see those more bend, that second bend in your finger, because it has to, and it will wrap around that way. And this one is shorter because it's a bigger pole or bigger something, so you have to have that second bend showing to see that it's being wrapped around. So it'd be like this. And you don't want your fingers way out here. If the end of the pipe or pole or whatever you're holding is right here, you have that second bend, the first bend, the second bend has to be close, because it's bending in to wrap around that pipe or whatever it is holding on to, like that. So as I said, this one would be here because it's shorter, and then that bend would be closer. And then you'd have that, your palm, like that. Hopefully you're getting that. All right. As I said, I'm moving fast because I've got a bunch of things and I want to be able to get it within an hour, hopefully, if I don't go off subject. And the reason I go off subject is because to show you a little bit more that others are not showing you. So it depends on the angle whether you would see this other part of the finger bend in like that. If you were holding it up more to where you see it, but if you're doing something like this, you see more on the bottom like that. If I'm holding something, it would be more like that. But if you rotate it a little bit more, then you would see the bottom of that finger. Okay, so next one. Let's say the back of that. Let's reverse this. So being that it's the front, it's going to stay square. This part is going to stay square. So front of the hand is like this, like that. Now putting my knife in the hand. So remember your palm, split it in half. Here's my palm. Here's my other palm. And it's going to, whatever you hold, it's going to push back. Actually, I have the knife here. You have your palm, and this is going to push back against that palm. So in the camera, it's going to push back against that palm. It's going to wrap around, but you're still going to see kind of that circle coming around like that. So if you have your hand in square, you put it in, grab it, it's going to push back, or your fingers are actually going to push it back against the palm. So you have that, your palm, your other part of your palm. You're going to have your thumb, which comes up here and then down. Remember the two is going to be two bends, there. So that little banana part, this part here. And of course you have the wrinkles. You have all kind of wrinkles up in here, especially when you grab something. But that's optional. So, and as I said, this finger here, coming down, this finger here is not going to go, this finger can go out. It's just the way the hand is made. This finger is not going to go out, so it's going to stay straight. And for this purpose here, it's going to stay straight. This is why I'm trying to show you that it's going to stay straight, and it's going to bend around. So you have that first bend out, and that second bend that comes in. So actually you have three, but you're not going to see it. You have this one. And a lot of times you can get away with just doing these. And then you put your bends in later. You put your marks in where your fingers bent at. I should have put the thumb in last. So you have this first one. You have the second one. Since the finger's longer, it's going to wrap around a little further back. It's going to come back further back. Along with this one, which is going to come further back as well. And then this one is going to be, because it's so short, it's not going to go back as far. Yeah, man, yeah. And firstly, let me redo that because I did it right, but I did it too small from what I had. So real quickly, here's your pipe. Here's your hand. Pipe, knife. It's a knife. It's not a pipe. It's a knife. So, and you're gonna when you grab it, this part here, show the camera, is going to push back against here. It's going to wrap to where this is right against this. So your finger's going to start behind it and come around it. So again, as I said, you can get away with at the beginning, that's the one finger, it's the second finger, which is going to come in further. This third one, which is going to come a little even a little further, and this one is going to be shorter. Having that angle here. And then you do your breaks. I think this one's going to be here, here, and the third one is there. And I know when I start doing this, the whole, and I'll put the thumb up here just because when I start doing too many lines, I lose it. Even I lose it. So, going blue. You have this finger. This finger. This finger. And if you get basically the I don't want to say shapes of the fingers, the angles of the fingers right, or the hand right, then you're pretty good. So that would break the first bend. And something else, what was I saying? You have to get those bends or those breaks, those joints right. You have, this one is the longest, they're almost the same. This is going to be the shortest piece. So if I say I'll break it here, here, and here, you have to get those right, because in comics we're so used to just drawing two fingers, two bends in the fingers, that when it's time to draw the hand right, or draw the hand right, it's hard to do because you're just so used to doing the two breaks in the hand, because you're drawing small hands all the time. That when it's time to do, as I say, a regular hand, then it's because you've taken this first bend, which is the only bend in this finger. You've taken it so far out that you would automatically take that first bend that far out, and then you have a little teeny bend here, which is wrong. So something else you have to know, and it just comes with practice, because even I have trouble doing it sometimes when I have to do a close-up of a hand. And that was the only time I do a close-up of a hand is when I do a weapon or something. And then I have to say, oh, okay, that's not quite right. That's a little bit wrong. So we have your hand here. And let's say it's kind of like placements of the finger. If you place them right, then you'll be all right. So this joint here is there, or that bend is there. And usually I don't do like fingernails, but just for the sake of that. And this is about, if I do fingernails, that's about as much as I do, because if you do it all the way, it kind of looks like a woman's hand. Actually, this finger can go back because to me it's out too long. But you'd have to play with that. I'm thinking this one would be closer. Not making excuses, Brian. So the pipe or the knife is wrapped around here. And then that thumb would actually, if it's a small pipe, that thumb would actually come down like that. That thumb would actually cover that and goes in there, and then there's your palm right there, holding that piece. Oh, you screwed up on that finger. Yeah, I did. But it would actually be closer in, depending on the shape of the knife, the size of the handle. And then remember, it's going to go straight across like that. And then the wrist is going to be lower because this part sticks off of the wrist. All right. That little finger's a little tore up, but hopefully you get the gist of what I'm doing with this one, and this pen is not wanting to write very good. Okay, so you have your knife here. However you would want to hold your knife up, maybe, I don't know. All right, so let's do a stabbing position from the back. Let's get a piece of paper. Now, going from the back, remember it's going to be more triangle kind of shape, so let's go this way. So you have your arm, you have your wrist, and this is your hand. Let's say this is your hand. You have your knife holding knife up. So your knife is going to be in your hand. Let's just say up like this. This is your knife. This is your hand holding it. So in order to stab somebody, you have to twist that wrist. So what that's going to do, you're going to come down in your fingers. So you're going to go down 1 and 2, and your fingers are going to come back like this. Because it's going to, these are your fingers. So this is that triangle part right here. These are your fingers, almost like pointing to the ground, because whatever you have is going to come from your fingers. So you're going to bend, it's going to bend at that wrist here. So if you're doing your triangle, almost triangle, you're going to bend that triangle down like that, and then put your fingers down like that, because as I say, these are your fingers. It's going to come from your fingers. Your fingers are holding it against your palm, so it's going to come out there. So you're going to have that shape, and then of course it's going to bend into your wrist. Maybe not that much, but like that. So what you're going to have here is that shape. Do your fingers, 1, 2, 3, which turns into 4, and then of course remember that this one is shorter. This bend in that first one is shorter. So you're going to see that. And it depends on how big, let me eat this right off the bat. Depends on how big the handle is, whatever handle you're holding. You might see a second bend in this one. Maybe not that one and not that one because they're small. So it's going to come up and bend at that that bone or that knuckle and come back like that. You're going to have this little fat meaty part again, and then these fingers will curve in, and then of course you have your knuckles. But the whole key is turning that triangle so that you can bend that finger down, because the opening of that hand has to be pointed at that person. That's one of the easier ones. So just remember that the triangle has to be bent, down. And this is just the back of the hand. Then you put the fingers. Remember, the fingers are bent. The fingers bend. I didn't do that. The fingers bend in. So if I'm doing it from the front, the fingers bend down like that and then curve in. So if I'm doing it from the back, fingers bend down like that, curve in. All right, that was pretty easy one. So we did the stabbing from the front. did we do one from the back? Okay, we did the holding up from the back. I have to check what I'm doing. From the back, from the front, stabbing. Let's do a down one. So now you get hard. You get a little harder. So if you stab somebody down, stabbing a person down is kind of. Let me zoom in just a little bit. And fix it so that it won't. So the lock. I have to have a zoom lock. If not, it's going to blur every time I move my hand in order to focus. Autofocus is what it is. So now if I'm stabbing somebody downwards, and the hard part is explaining this, you know the hand is from the side, the hand is flat, let's just say. This is the palm. This is your wrists. These are your fingers, just because, and it's the 2 fingers. So whatever you have is going to fit in that palm. You know that. It's going to go against that palm, and these fingers are going to go around it to hold it, and the thumb is going to come up from behind to hold the side of it. So that's the premise of it. So if you're doing more a stabbing position, and I'll do the opposite hand, we're going to have that square firstly. We're going to put that knife again in that hand or whatever we're doing. And then we're going to have the fingers around it. So let's just do this. And I'm trying to make it so you guys can understand it and it's easier for you. Because nobody really showed me. I had to kind of like learn on my own. So you're going to have that. You're going to see the back of the hand. You're going to see some of the palm of the hand. And all of this is your squares, squares, rectangles, so forth. This is why I always say, practice your shapes, your squares, rectangles, and circles. So we're going to have 1 finger. You're going to have 3 fingers showing, 2, 3. So we're going to have, you know it's going to break. It's going to have that first break and that second break right there. Second one is going to do the same thing. Whether the first break, second break, and that third one, which is longer, 1, 2, 3, is going to have that same, like that. So when this is pushing, you have this with the break, that at the break, and then you have your palm. So let me ink this so that it will make sense to you. You have your object, which is your knife, and let me draw the knife in. And the good thing about holding something is it covers up a lot of, I don't want to say mistakes, a lot of drawing time, I guess. So if this is the knife coming down to be stabbed. So you have that finger that wraps around. Get another pen. This is the first finger with lines in the break, in the bend, should I say. Second one, and it's not going to come all the way back. You have your knuckles right here. That third finger is going to come all the way around. So you're going to have this one. It comes down, and the same thing with the third one. Comes down and around. Now, what happened to the fourth one? Because remember, because this knuckle is higher, you're not going to see that other finger. So that other finger is going to come up and then down. And this is just a quick, like that. And you might not see the thumb. It depends, because the thumb would be probably here somewhere, and you could see the other piece of that palm pushing against that. So it would look like that with the knife, depending on what type of knife you had. But you will see the back of this hand, the three knuckles. This one's higher than the other one, and then this could be, these actual could come in a little bit more to hold it, or depending on your finger size, bring it down a little bit more to wrap around your object. So again, making it a little easier. Kind of like that. And this is the part where you're going to be holding something. So of course, you're going to see the back of your hand. You're going to see some of the back of it. And it all depends on your angle that you are holding your knife. But as long as you get this part right, you have your 1, 2, your 3 fingers. And you know that where your bends are. Your bends pretty much align with these three. These 3 line up. So if you bend it here, the other 2 should bend here too. So this is your first bend, your second bend, you come in. This one's going to come out some more. That's going to be your first bend, second bend, and this is because they are longer. They're going to overlap one another to a degree. And then, as I said, this finger's going to stop. Your knuckle's going to be here. It's going to be here. And you got to try to keep these things round. And then your other finger is going to come out here because that bend is shorter. You're not going to see it. You're not going to see where the rest of the finger. And wherever there's a bend or a crease, you have to show that. And then you have the other part of the palm. Not too much of the palm because you're seeing the back of the hand here. So you're not going to see too much of the palm. As I said, you might not see the thumb. Depending on the angle that you hold it, you show it. And that's a goofy looking hand, Brian. I'm telling you, that hand is goofy looking. But it's an upside down. It's coming down. As I said, you're looking up at it, and this knife is coming down to stab you. So it's kind of, it's weird. It's really weird. All right, let's do one where you're holding the knife upside down, kind of. So for that one, we're going to have the hand. You're going to see the palm of the hand. Remember, split it. Well, actually, let's do that one this way. So again, place the knife, or place the knife, since we're doing knives, place the knife in the hand, and we're going to wrap the fingers around it. And remember, it's sitting in the palm. It's sitting on the palm. It's being pushed back against the palm. It's going to be the circle because your thumb is going to come out. I'm not going to put the thumb in there yet. I'm going to put the hands around. So this side here, you're going to come up and then bring the finger around that first bend. Second one is going to be probably closer because this hand is shorter, this finger is shorter, so it's not going to reach like the other. Like that. And as I say, a lot of times you can get away with just doing the ovals as long as your hand is not, the actual square of your hand is not too small. You have to work on that. So it's going to bend where it's grabbing the knife, except for this one. So it's going to come up, bend, and into the knife. Up, bend, and into the knife. Up, bend, and into the knife. And just using the ovals is just a quick way to do the fingers. And of course, remember this piece is going to come out like that. The little triangle piece. It's pushing against the palm. It's resting against the palm. The thumb is going to come out and then up like this. So let's do the fingers. That. So your knife would be how did I have that knife? Like that. I mean, it's just like upside down, like you're either in victory or however you would have the knife upside down, but it's going to sit in that square. And then you just wrap your fingers. And as I said, if you remember the angle of your fingers, you'll pretty much get it right. And if you're doing a close-up of a hand, and you have to have all your wrinkles and your details and so forth in your hand. But if you're doing a small, medium hand, then you just as long as you get the shape right, because you can always add a lot of shadow to cover up things. Not that you want to cover up stuff because your lack of skills, but these are just little tips that you can use to hide stuff or to not draw as much detail as you want to draw or you figure you need to draw, like that. Yeah. But that's doing a small hand, you know, a large hand with emphasis on seeing the hand. All right, let's do one more because I don't know how long this video has gotten to, and we did the stabbing, which I was not happy with. Upside down, the under knife thrusting. Which way did this go? This was up and down. This was holding the knife up and down here. So another thing is, if your knife comes all the way down here, your handle, then you're going to have to show, if your first finger bends here, you cannot wrap that around this knife that's here, so you have to show that other piece of the bend. You have to extend that to your second bend here. Same thing here. You should extend it just a little bit to your second bend. This one is good enough that all you need to do is the first bend, because the other part is wrapping around the knife. Just something else. This is why I say place the knife in the hand and then go from there. So if the knife is here, your finger bends here, here, and then here. Second one here. Then these bends on these first three fingers are pretty much the same, except the length of the finger is a little longer. So it's going to be here, the same bend here, and maybe not as long. And as I said, this one here, depending on the angle, is shorter. So the bend would be like here. Yeah. And then it's pushing against your palm. You have the other part of the palm and the thumb. You might see some thumb up in here somewhere. All right, let's do this last one, which is a hard one. I don't want to waste any more paper. Now this one is a forward. If you're doing forward, showing the hand forward. And it was hard for me to kind of do and explain, but I think I broke it down. So you want to do a circle. If I can remember, because I was working on this last night. So your object is here. So say your knife is here. Your object, whatever you're holding forward, and you'll see it in a second. So the first thing you want to do is your hand is going to hold that. Your finger is going to come down. This is your pointer finger there, and then up. So that knife is going to rest on that finger. And I mean, use cylinders if you have to the first time. So because this is in a circle, you're going to keep that circle to a degree. So you're going to do this, and then that is going to, this is your knuckle up here. This is your first knuckle. This is your second knuckle up here. Now remember that this finger is shorter, and that first bend is shorter than that second bend. So you're going to bring this around, the second finger around, and then up, and then bend that. So you have the two fingers. You have the 1, 2. Your third one is going to come down again, around, and then bend up as well. And what's that? 1, 2, 3. And your fourth one, same thing. You're going to have that knuckle coming around that circle. It's going to be a circle coming down and around, and this is shorter. Now, from this finger, you're going to have that web. You're going to have that web around here. You're going to bring this up, and then you're going to have your thumb. Your thumb is going to be, and it depends on the shape of your handle or whatever you're holding. That part of the thumb is going to be here. Because remember, you have your thumb, here's your hand, is that. You have this piece, and then you have this piece for the thumb. So that's going to be this piece right here, and this is going to be the other part of the thumb. And then that's going to be the back part up here, and then the web that goes around here, or the part that goes around your hand. And then, oh my back, your palm. Your palm is back here. So if I inked it, I know that was kind of weird to do that, but if you follow those steps, you'll get it. Trying your best to keep this thing round as possible. Let's use some round guidelines. And this, your knife would be here. So, well, let me just continue this finger. So there's going to be that little bend here in the thumb. This other part of your thumb, the banana part. I don't know what that tip of the thumb is called. And then this part that comes around. And you have all kind of wrinkles and stuff up here. But the thing is, whatever you draw, your knife, let's say it's your knife, and it has a handle that covers the covers up the fingers, and then this, and let's say your knife is coming up like this. So basically it's kind of like a straight on, so your arm would be out here, your forearm would be out here, your bicep would be here, like you're going to stab that guy. Now I know that's kind of a hard one to do, but if you follow those steps, as I said, with the circle, and it depends on if you move your wrist over where you'll see some of the bottom, some of the top. So all of these drawings are basically what's the word I'm trying to say? You can shift your hand at any time to change the position, but these are just your basic knife positions that I gave some thought to that you will want to draw. And I'm trying to get this in frame. So as I said, there's the one, but if you tilted your hand up or down a little bit, it changes the whole perspective of it. But follow these steps, same thing here. If you twisted your hand a little bit, it changes the whole perspective of every one of these things. But follow the steps I showed you with doing the, where is it? The triangle. Where is it? First paper. Is this the one? Yeah, with doing the triangle for the back of the hand. Your fist. Whichever side your thumb is going to be on. Your side of your hand, remembering this knuckle is higher than that one. The curve of your hand, which this knuckle's higher. The thumb would be out here. Your side, your other side would, if your thumb was here on that side, if you shifted to the other side, it'd be your baby finger, your other finger, and then your middle finger. And then you'd see just a little bit, but you would see the other half of your palm and your thumb coming down. So just quickly, it would be, here's that knuckle, that one finger, knuckle, here's that other finger, knuckle, and here's that third finger. You wouldn't see that fourth finger because, as I said, this is higher. This is a high point here. So but you would see the palm and you would see that thumb like that. Whereas the other side, you would just see the thumb and then that finger and then that finger, and that's all you would see unless you bent your other fingers down to show them. So yeah, hopefully this is enough to get you going. If you remember these first tips, then that would be enough to get you on your way going. Did you see that when I was drawing that? Hopefully you did. I hope you did. I'll look at the video and I'll see. If not, I'll redo it. So, as I say, hopefully that's enough for you to get going to doing hands. And the next one will be on swords. Now I was going to do a sword and knife combination because the sword is almost the same. It would be the same as the knife. But anytime you're using a sword, most times you do a lot of upshots because you're swinging a sword over your head and so forth. So that's going to be the next video in this little hand-holding weapon series. So with that one, I am out.